My name is Candy. I am 27 years old, and I live in a small apartment building in Brooklyn, New York. It's an old building with red brick walls and a green door that squeaks when you open it. My apartment is on the third floor, number 3B. It has one bedroom, a tiny kitchen, and a window that looks out at the street below. Many people think I have a simple life. I work at a flower shop on the corner. I come home, cook dinner, and watch shows on my laptop. I have a few friends, and I visit my parents every Sunday. From the outside, everything looks fine, but deep inside, I am carrying a secret that makes my heart race every time I hear footsteps in the hallway, a secret that keeps me awake at night. I am in love with my neighbor. His name is Daniel. He lives in apartment 3C, right next to mine. He is 29 years old, tall with dark brown hair and kind eyes. He works as a teacher at the local high school. I see him almost every day. Sometimes in the morning when we both leave for work. Sometimes in the evening when we come home tired. But here's the problem. Daniel has a girlfriend. Her name is Rachel. She's beautiful, confident, and successful. She works in finance and wears expensive clothes. She visits Daniel 3 or 4 times a week. I hear her laugh through the thin walls. I hear them watching movies together. I hear them living a life that I can only dream about. I never planned to fall in love with Daniel. It just happened. Slowly, quietly, like rain that starts so soft you don't notice it until you're completely wet. It started 6 months ago. I was carrying heavy bags of groceries up the stairs. My arms were shaking. One of the bags ripped, and oranges rolled down the hallway. I felt so embarrassed. I was on my knees trying to catch them when I heard a voice. "Let me help you." I looked up and saw Daniel. He was smiling. He picked up the oranges one by one and put them in his arms. Then he carried my groceries to my door. "Thank you so much," I said. My face felt hot. "No problem," he said. "I'm Daniel, by the way. I live right next door." "I'm Candy," I said quietly. "Nice to meet you, Candy." He smiled again and walked to his apartment. That was the first time. Just a simple moment, nothing special, but something in my chest felt warm. After that day, we started saying hello more often. Small conversations in the hallway. "How was your day?" "The weather is nice today." "Have a good weekend." Just normal neighbor talk. But every time I saw him, my heart beat faster. One rainy evening, about 2 months later, I was standing outside the building. I forgot my umbrella at work, and I was getting soaked. I was trying to decide if I should run inside when Daniel appeared with a big black umbrella. "Candy, what are you doing out here?" he asked. "I forgot my umbrella," I said, water dripping from my hair. "I'm just thinking." He laughed. "Thinking won't keep you dry. Come on, let's go inside." He held the umbrella over both of us. We were so close. I could smell his cologne. I could feel the warmth from his arm. We walked up the stairs together, leaving wet footprints behind us. When we reached the 3rd floor, he said, "Do you want some tea? You look freezing." I should have said no. I should have just thanked him and gone to my apartment. But I said yes. His apartment was similar to mine, but felt more like a home. There were books on shelves, plants by the window, and photographs on the wall. Photos of him with friends, with family, and with Rachel. I tried not to look at those photos. He made chamomile tea, and we sat on his couch. We talked about everything, about books we loved, movies we watched, places we wanted to visit. He told me about his students and how one of them wrote a poem that made him cry. I told him about the flower shop and how I loved making bouquets for weddings because everyone looked so happy. We talked for 2 hours. 2 hours that felt like 2 minutes. When I finally went back to my apartment, I closed the door and leaned against it. My hands were shaking, not from the cold, from something else, something I didn't want to name. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about his smile, his voice, the way he listened when I spoke. I told myself, "Candy, stop. He has a girlfriend. This is dangerous." But my heart didn't listen. After that evening, we became friends. Real friends. He would knock on my door sometimes and ask if I wanted coffee. I would share cookies I baked. We watched movies together when Rachel was busy with work. We sat on the roof of our building on warm nights and talked about life, dreams, and fears. I learned that Daniel loved old jazz music, that he wanted to write a book someday, that his favorite food was his grandmother's lasagna, that he was scared of failing as a teacher because he cared so much about his students. And every time I learned something new about him, I fell deeper. But I never told him. How could I? He loved Rachel. I could see it in the way he smiled when she called, in the way he talked about their future plans. They were going to move in together next year, maybe get married. I was just his neighbor, his friend, nothing more. One Saturday morning, Daniel knocked on my door. He looked excited. "Candy, I need your help," he said. "What is it?" I asked. "It's Rachel's birthday next week. I want to propose to her. I want to make it special. You're good at making things beautiful, right? With flowers and all? Can you help me plan it?" My stomach dropped. My hands felt cold, but I smiled. I smiled like everything was fine. "Of course," I said. "I'd love to help." That week was the hardest week of my life. Daniel and I planned everything together. He wanted to propose at the park near the river. He wanted white roses, candles, and fairy lights. He showed me the ring. It was beautiful, small and elegant, just like Rachel. Every detail we planned felt like a knife in my heart. But I kept smiling. I kept helping, because that's what friends do, right? The day before the proposal, I helped Daniel set everything up. We spent hours arranging roses, hanging lights, and placing candles. It looked magical, like something from a movie. When we finished, Daniel turned to me and said, "Thank you, Candy. You're an amazing friend. I don't know what I'd do without you." I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell him the truth. But instead, I said, "I'm happy for you, Daniel. Rachel is lucky." He hugged me, just a friendly hug, but it felt like goodbye. That night, I sat in my apartment alone. I looked at the wall that separated my apartment from his. I put my hand on it and whispered, "I love you. I love you so much, but I can never tell you." I cried until I had no tears left. Before I continue my story, I want to ask you something. Where are you listening from? Have you ever loved someone you couldn't have? It helps me feel less alone to know someone understands. Please tell me in the comments. I would really love to know. The next day was the proposal. I didn't go to the park. I couldn't watch. Instead, I stayed home and tried to distract myself. I cleaned my apartment. I organized my closet. I baked bread even though I wasn't hungry. Around sunset, I heard footsteps in the hallway. Then Daniel's door opened and closed. I heard voices. Rachel's laugh. They were home. The proposal must have happened. I sat on my floor and stared at nothing. I felt empty. So empty. About an hour later, someone knocked on my door. I wiped my face and opened it. It was Daniel. He looked happy, but also confused. "Can I come in?" he asked. "Of course," I said. He sat on my small couch. I sat in the chair across from him. My heart was beating so loud I thought he could hear it. "She said no," he said quietly. I stared at him. "What?" "Rachel said no. She said she loves me, but she's not ready for marriage. She said she wants to focus on her career right now. She said maybe in a few years." He looked at his hands. "I thought she wanted this. I thought we were on the same page." "I'm so sorry, Daniel," I said, and I meant it. Even though part of me felt relief, another part hurt for him, because I knew what it felt like to love someone who couldn't love you back the same way. "I don't know what to do," he said. "I planned our whole future together, and now I don't know." We sat in silence for a while. Then he said, "Can I ask you something, Candy?" "Anything," I said. "Why are you still single? You're kind, smart, talented, beautiful. Why hasn't anyone taken you yet?" My breath caught. Beautiful. He called me beautiful. "I guess I'm just waiting for the right person," I said carefully. "What does the right person look like to you?" he asked. I looked at him, really looked at him. His messy hair, his tired eyes, his gentle smile. I wanted to say, "He looks exactly like you," but instead I said, "Someone who makes me feel safe, someone I can talk to about anything, someone who sees me, really sees me." Daniel nodded. "That sounds nice." We talked until midnight, about love, about disappointment, about fear. When he finally left, he hugged me at the door and said, "Thank you for being here, Candy. You always know how to make me feel better." After he left, I whispered to the closed door, "That's because I love you." The next few weeks were strange. Rachel and Daniel didn't break up, but something changed. She came by less often. Sometimes I heard them arguing through the walls. Not loud, angry arguments, just sad, tired conversations about what they wanted from life. Daniel started spending more time with me. We had coffee every morning before work. We cooked dinner together some evenings. We watched old movies and talked until late at night. My friend Maya called me one evening. She asked, "How are you doing?" I told her everything. About Daniel, about Rachel, about the proposal that didn't happen. "Candy," she said gently, "you need to tell him how you feel." "I can't," I said. "He's still with Rachel. I can't do that to them." "But you're not happy," Maya said. "You're living half a life, hiding your heart. That's not fair to you." "Maybe," I said quietly. "But what if I tell him and he doesn't feel the same way? What if I lose him as a friend? I'd rather have him in my life as a friend than not at all." Maya sighed. "Just think about it, okay? You deserve to be happy too." One rainy Thursday evening, exactly 3 months after the failed proposal, I heard a knock on my door. It was Daniel. He looked different, sad but also free somehow. "Can we talk?" he asked. We sat on my couch. He took a deep breath and said, "Rachel and I broke up." My heart stopped. What happened? We finally admitted the truth. We want different things. She wants to travel the world and focus on her career. I want to settle down, maybe have a family someday. We were holding on because we cared about each other, but caring isn't enough. We need to want the same future. "I'm sorry," I said. and I was. I was sorry for his pain, even though part of me felt hope growing inside my chest. "I'm okay," he said. "It was the right decision. For both of us." He looked at me. "Actually, breaking up made me realize something." "What?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "The person I was happiest with these past few months wasn't Rachel. It was you." Every morning, I looked forward to our coffee. Every evening, I hoped you'd be home so we could talk. When something good happened, you were the first person I wanted to tell. When something bad happened, you were the person who made it better. My hands started shaking. I didn't know what to say. "Candy," he continued, "I know this might be too soon. I know I might be confused, but I need to tell you something." He took my hand. "I think I'm falling in love with you. Maybe I've been falling for a while, but I was too blind to see it." Tears filled my eyes. "Daniel, you don't have to say anything right now," he said quickly. "I just needed you to know, because hiding it was killing me." I laughed and cried at the same time. "You think you're falling in love with me?" I said. "Daniel, I've been in love with you for 6 months. Since the day you helped me with my groceries. Since the day you shared your umbrella. Since every single conversation we've ever had." His eyes went wide. You love me?" "Yes," I said, tears running down my face. "I love you so much it hurts, but I couldn't tell you. You were with Rachel. You were happy. I didn't want to ruin anything." He pulled me close. "You wouldn't have ruined anything. You would have saved me from wasting time pretending I was in the right relationship. I helped you plan your proposal," I said, laughing through tears. "Do you know how hard that was? Making everything beautiful for you to propose to someone else?" "I'm so sorry," he said, wiping my tears. "If I had known, if I had just opened my eyes sooner." "It's okay," I said. "We're here now." He looked at me with so much tenderness. "Can I kiss you?" I nodded. When his lips touched mine, everything else disappeared. The past, the pain, the waiting, all that mattered was this moment, this perfect, real moment. We pulled apart and he said, "I can't believe you live right next door and I was too stupid to see what was right in front of me." I laughed. Better late than never. That night, we sat on my couch talking until the sun came up. We talked about everything we were too scared to say before, about stolen glances in the hallway, about nights we both couldn't sleep because we were thinking of each other, about the moment we each realized our feelings but kept them hidden. "I used to hear you through the wall sometimes," Daniel admitted. "I could hear you singing while you cooked. It made me smile." "I used to hear you too," I said. "I heard you laugh. I heard your music. Sometimes I would put my ear against the wall just to feel closer to you." He held my hand tighter. "Never hide from me again, okay? Promise me." "I promise," I said. The next few weeks felt like a dream. Daniel and I started dating officially. We went to museums, walked through parks, and tried new restaurants. But our favorite thing was just being in each other's apartments, watching movies, cooking together, talking about everything and nothing. People in our building started noticing. Mrs. Chen from the first floor said, "I knew it. I told my husband you two would end up together. The way you looked at each other in the elevator, it was obvious." My parents were surprised at first. My mother said, "Your neighbor? The one you told us was just a friend?" Then she met Daniel and said, "Oh, I see why you didn't tell us. You were scared we'd see how much you loved him." She was right. One evening, about 4 months after we started dating, we were sitting on the roof of our building. It was our special place now. The sun was setting and the sky was painted orange and pink. Daniel said, "You know what's funny?" "What?" I asked. "I was looking for love everywhere else. I thought it had to be complicated. I thought it had to be dramatic. But love was right next door the whole time. Simple, easy, real." I leaned my head on his shoulder. "I used to think loving you from far away was enough. Just being near you, even as a friend. But I was wrong. This is better. This is so much better." He kissed the top of my head. "I'm glad you didn't give up. I'm glad you waited for me to catch up." "I would have waited forever," I said softly. "You don't have to wait anymore," he said. We sat there watching the sky change colors. Two people who lived right next to each other, but took 6 months to close the distance between their hearts. 1 year later, we decided to move in together. But we didn't move to a new apartment. Instead, we knocked down the wall between 3B and 3C. We turned 2 small apartments into 1 bigger home. When the Pruesden construction workers took down the wall, we stood there holding hands. That wall had separated us for so long. We heard each other's lives through it, wondered what the other was doing. Now there was no wall, no separation, just open space and endless possibilities. "This is perfect," I said. Daniel smiled. "We should have done this a year ago." "No," I said. "We weren't ready a year ago. Everything happened exactly when it needed to." We filled our new home with flowers from my shop and books from Daniel's collection. We hung photographs of us laughing, traveling, and living the life we both dreamed of. On the wall where the old wall used to be, we painted a quote: "Love was always next door." My friend Maya visited us one day. She looked around our home and said, "I'm so proud of you, Candy. You were so scared to tell him how you felt, but you did it, and look what happened." "I almost didn't," I admitted. "I was so scared of losing him. But I realized something. Hiding love doesn't protect you from pain. It just guarantees you'll never know what could have been. Sometimes I still can't believe this is real. I wake up next to Daniel and think, is this really my life now?" Then he opens his eyes, smiles at me, and says good morning. And I know it's real. We still have problems, of course. We argue sometimes about silly things, like how he never remembers to buy milk or how I leave books everywhere. But we talk through everything. We never hide. We promised each other that. One Sunday morning, we were making breakfast together. I was cutting fruit, and Daniel was making pancakes. The radio was playing soft music. Sunlight was coming through the window. Everything felt peaceful. Daniel turned to me and said, "I'm going to marry you someday. You know that, right?" I looked up from the cutting board. "Is that a proposal?" "No," he laughed. "When I propose, it will be special. I'll plan something beautiful, maybe with flowers and candles like last time, but this time it will be for the right person." "I'll say yes," I said simply. "You don't know what I'll say yet," he teased. "I'll say yes to anything, as long as it's you asking," I said. He came over and wrapped his arms around me from behind. "I love you, Candy. Thank you for loving me, even when I was too blind to see you." "I love you too," I said. "Thank you for finally opening your eyes." Now, months later, I think about how different my life is. I used to lie awake at night, loving someone I thought I could never have. I used to press my hand against the wall between us and wish things were different. Now that wall is gone. Now I don't have to wish anymore. If someone out there is reading this and feeling like I did, feeling like your love is impossible, I want to tell you something. Don't give up, but also don't hide forever. I'm not saying it's easy to speak your truth. I'm not saying everything will work out perfectly, but living with regret is harder than living with rejection. I almost let fear steal my happiness. I almost accepted crumbs of Daniel's attention when I deserved his whole heart. I almost stayed silent forever. I'm so glad I didn't. Love doesn't always look like movies or romance novels. Sometimes love is simple. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it lives right next door, and you just need to be brave enough to knock. Daniel and I aren't perfect. Our love story isn't perfect, but it's real, and it's ours. Every morning when I wake up, I don't hear him through a wall anymore. I see him next to me, and that makes all the waiting, all the pain, all the fear worth it. To anyone who feels stuck, who loves someone from far away, who thinks their situation is hopeless, I want you to know this. Walls can come down, distance can close. Hope is real. You deserve to be loved the way you love others. You deserve someone who chooses you every single day. Don't settle for less. Don't hide your heart forever. Be brave. Speak your truth. And trust that if it's meant to be, the universe will find a way. Thank you for listening to my story. It's not perfect, but it's mine, and now it's yours too. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and share. Tell me your story in the comments. Are you waiting for someone? Have you ever been scared to speak your truth? I want to hear from you. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon. Until next time, remember, sometimes the love you're looking for is closer than you think. Sometimes it's just on the other side of the wall. All you have to do is be brave enough to tear the wall down.